Hey lovely world heart, it's Lisa here. Today I'm answering the question, can a daily journal practice really heal childhood trauma? This was a blog post I wrote in 2022, but I'm sharing it again on here because it's full of nuggets of wisdom. I think I'm going to do a series of these videos on journaling and why I'm such a huge advocate of it and why I talk about using it as a tool to heal yourself. It's also particularly brilliant for highly sensitive people, empaths, because we have an amazing ability to introspect and self-reflect. And so why not harness that and use it to help ourselves? So the quick answer is yes. Journaling is a powerful tool for healing, and I'm passionate about teaching journaling to my clients. You can learn with me here. So there are so many different ways you can learn journaling with me. I've got a journaling starter kit. I've got a 30-day self-love journal experience, and I've also got a 30-day manifest your dream life experience. All of those links will be in the description box below for you if you'd like to learn with me. So often the most basic and simplest things are the ones that work, and yet we find it so hard to believe that a pen and paper are the power tools for healing huge insurmountable problems we've battled with for years, ones that cause us so much pain. Yes, I think we find it hard to believe that. I always think that we think it's going to be complicated because most of us have got cptsd, which stands for complex post-traumatic stress disorder. We think because the trauma's complex, then the healing modality has to be complex. To be honest with you, the healing path itself is like untangling all the necklaces in your jewelry box, isn't it? It's a process, and it's a slow process. You need to be patient with yourself. I mean, basically because trauma is too much, too soon, and nowhere to go, no escape and no safe protector as a child. So when you think about having a pen and a paper, you might think, well, you also might be put off by it because you might think, well, I don't like writing, but there are other ways to journal. And I don't know if they're in this blog. We'll see if they come up, but maybe I'll speak to them in another video. So it says, you know what's right for you because all the answers are in there somewhere. And I also think we doubt that about ourselves because many of us have been gaslit and told over and over again that we're always getting it wrong. So then we get on a mission to be perfectionists and get it right. And actually, there is no wrong way to journal. And the monkey mind will kick in anyway when you start something new, because to journal, to write onto a blank page, is to have some kind of level of trust, because you've got to open up and see what comes through on the page. But you have to say to yourself, well, I can't get it wrong. You might not always believe in yourself or feel confident enough to follow your own rules, but when you get out of your head and into your heart, that's where the magic happens. Your heart knows what feels right for you. And I love seeing wild hearts start to lean in and trust themselves, but it only happens when you decide that you're ready. So are you ready? There isn't a one-size-cure-all approach to healing trauma. Of course, there are some fundamental requirements, beginning with safety. There are different stages of healing, and you won't know what you need until you get there. Again, it's about learning to listen to your body and trusting it. Your body's got innate wisdom in it, and you've very been likely taught to tune out from your emotional body and put your attention elsewhere. I would imagine on other people somewhere outside of you. So mummy knows best, or some guru or some teacher is coming to save you and make it better. Listen, I don't have all the answers. I'm still finding my way through life. I'm not coming down from the mountains and preaching to you. I'm sitting with you in the trenches, as they say, and I'm journaling with you. And if you've been to one of my journaling classes, you'll know that's the way it is. I share my insights and ahas, and I am learning new things about myself all the time. Meet yourself where you are. When I first entered therapy in my late 20s, I was so emotionally dysregulated that there was no space for tools and techniques. I was full to the brim with pain, suppressed feelings masked by anxiety, stuck grief and frozen parts of me that I had pushed away. I was traumatized, and I had been living my life in survival mode. Safety above all else. I simply needed to get it all out. I could have done that in my journal, but with a therapist I was able to create safety. For the first time in my life, somebody was there for me, and they really listened and heard me, and they listened without an agenda or without shushing me or telling me to get over it or dismissing my reality as absurd or over the top. Or they also listened without using my words against me. So you may have had a parent that did listen, but they harvested all the things that you told them, all your deepest innermost, secrets. You shared your inner world with them, or perhaps they didn't give you any privacy and forced you to, and then they would turn around and use that against you in an argument at a later date, or to have power over you. I built trust with my therapist over time, knowing that my words wouldn't be used against me at a later date like they had been in the past, and it felt strange to sit with somebody so calm and friendly who knew how to be with me when my feelings were fizzing over like an exploding can of pop. "You're not too much for me," she kindly reassured me with a smile, and I knew she meant it, probably one of the many soothing things she said, and I loved to hear. Yeah, so you may have been told that you're too much, but you may have felt like you were not enough. You may have felt like whatever you did wasn't good enough for that parent. And of course not, because that parent is like a bottomless pit that just sucks the life and joy out of everybody. Finally, I was safe and I was welcome here. I had a strong trauma response, which meant that I couldn't be still and quiet in my mind. I wouldn't slow down. I kept myself busy, and I was running from myself. I was running from my pain. And this is the flight trauma response. I was rebellious to affirmations. Why don't they work? This is such BS. I didn't believe a word of it, and I couldn't let it in. It was all lies. So I don't know how many of you find that affirmations don't work. If you listen to my podcast, I've done a whole episode on why I think affirmations don't work. I winced at the word meditation. Sitting alone in the silence created too much space for a past, a much younger version of me to pop up and flood my body with feelings of helplessness, powerlessness and terror. We call this an emotional flashback. This is a term that was coined by Pete Walker. Pete Walker says that complex post-traumatic stress disorder, we have flashbacks. So not flashbacks like the soldiers have in the war that have a visual component. This is just your body being flooded with all the feelings that you felt as a child when you were terrified, when you were abandoned, when you were shamed, when you were guilt-tripped. It's all those feelings, and they leave you feeling awful. So I couldn't be alone for very long, and when people were saying, well, you just need to meditate more, I just wanted to punch them in the face because I couldn't. I was like, oh, stop telling me to meditate. What I could do, which was meditative, was walk all over town with earbuds in, listening to music or podcasts. So, you can get into a rhythmical slow walk, and you're out in nature anyway, so that really grounds your energy, and that helped. And I spent a lot of time doing that, but I wanted to move my body. So that's what I'm saying. Listen to your body. Someone might tell you to meditate. I might suggest that you journal, but maybe you want to walk, or maybe you want to get down the gym and punch a punch bag. Maybe you want to dance it out. Maybe you want to sing it out. Maybe you want to cook it out, paint it out. Like, creativity heals. So you just do you and don't worry about what everyone else is saying. I was allergic to the word mindfulness, although I have got better with that one. I was not living in the present because my brain was on red alert, scouting out what might go wrong in the future, or being haunted by the past in ways which I seemingly had no control over. Yeah, so those emotional flashbacks, they come in and you feel like they're going to take you under and that there's nothing you can do about them. You can. I can help you with that. Actually, I've got a kit, an emotional first aid kit for people that have complex trauma, and I talk about my experience of having trauma releases and some of the tools I used. Again, these are all just my ideas and suggestions, and what I would suggest if you do buy that kit is to pick a mix, like try one for a bit, and then if that doesn't work, try another one. And I suppose that can be frustrating because you just want something to work, but the thing is that you can't take the pain away. What you're trying to do is learn to sit with the pain and create space for it, and you're able to be with it. And I suppose through being a coach to my younger clients that I did for decades, and now to older people, I'm able to sit with my own pain because I could sit with theirs. Oh, the fire engines or the ambulance is going by. That's the other thing then, that's just a nod to say that when you're in an emotional flashback, everything feels like an emergency, and you just want rid of it quickly. But you can't, because it's already in you. It's in you. I wasn't listening to myself. I wasn't ready to do those things that they said I should do. The more I tried and failed, the more I believed there was something seriously wrong with me, and this was not the case at all. My therapist taught me that my body was having an appropriate reaction to all the hurt and trauma I'd experienced as a child. She explained that whilst I still carried it inside of me, it would continue to control my life. She also explained that it made sense why I couldn't do those things like meditate and chant affirmations. It hadn't been safe for me to meet myself in such an intimate way. And again, her words were like a warm hug. My initial response was one of anger. Why don't people know about this stuff? And I felt ashamed for not knowing. But how could I know when nobody had taught me? On reflection, I can see why I was drawn to journaling, and I wish I had this off switch for my mind so I could relax. I had a really, my mind was just pumping out thoughts. I mean, if you've ever heard Johnny Depp talk about it, he refers to it as the circus in his head, which is probably why he smokes a lot of pot and drinks. But then that creates a whole new set of problems, doesn't it? So, yeah, that's. I mean, we tend to use things like that to take the edge off of our pain, like scrolling on social media, shopping, food. We have addictions. That's what addictions come from. They come from pain, and they're an attempt at self-soothing. But actually, no one's been there to soothe us, and no one's taught us how to self-soothe in healthy ways. So it says, where did I get up to? I wish I had an off switch for my mind so I could relax in order to get some respite from the relentless chatter that plagued me day and night. I was going to have to try a different approach. So I swapped ignoring, distracting and running from my mind for the complete opposite. I put my attention on it. It was time for me to listen instead of seeing it as the enemy, and I befriended it, and I let whatever it wanted to say in, and I began writing out my thoughts. I'd read that getting them out on paper lessened their power, and this was true. It worked. See, some therapists will tell you to try distraction techniques. Now, I don't think that's healthy, because the thing inside of you that's trying to get your attention is still there. So distraction, I feel like your body's always trying to communicate with you. It's always trying to tell you something. But again, if that works for you, then who am I to say? Like, you do you. Having somebody listen to help me tune back in. Having somebody listen to me helped me tune back in and listen. My therapist consistently responded patiently, with compassion, with kindness, with curiosity, and with so much positive regard for me as a good person. Through this safe relationship, I was able to become aware of my emotional body, listen to my gut feelings, and trust my intuitive hunches. Once I understood how these parts of me worked, then I could start to do that for myself. And then journaling became more than writing out streams of consciousness, more than just writing out that endless stream, which is often what we call our inner critic or the monkey mind. And it was another layer to that self-affirming process that I could do it by myself outside of sessions. Writing opens up a channel for self-expression. To heal, we need to be seen and heard. Ultimately, trauma disconnects us from ourselves. So if healing is reconnecting with the self, then journaling is the path back home. Let me say that again. Ultimately, trauma disconnects us from ourselves. So if healing is reconnecting with the self, then journaling is the path back home. Writing fostered a more loving relationship with myself. Daily chats from me to me. Quiet time to reflect and go within. I made time to listen to my thoughts, feelings, hopes, desires and dreams as much as I listened to everyone else's. Journaling was my form of meditation and mindfulness. Journaling became enjoyable once I'd scribbled down the relentless inner critic and the intrusive thoughts. And then when I was able to be creative and bring myself to the page, I began to develop my own daily practice. Resistance to writing is self-protection. Some days I didn't feel like writing, but it turns out I wasn't procrastinating or being lazy. It wasn't that I didn't know what to write or I wasn't asking the right questions. It wasn't that I was afraid of what I might uncover about myself in the dark corners of my scattered mind. You can imagine my surprise when journaling helped me discover there's so much that's right with me and there's so much that's right with you. But you've probably been around people who've projected all of their stuff onto you and made you feel like you were wrong. It says, I see myself so differently now. The more I write, the more I love who I am, the more confident I feel. I want you to hear that again. I see myself so differently now. The more I write, the more I love who I am, the more confident I feel. I exercised my demons and took back my power. When you get those words out on paper, it takes their power away. When they stay locked in your mind, they haunt you every day. They control the narrative. That's why I don't think distraction works, because they're still there. Over and over on loop, that nasty inner critic, that shaming self-talk, that relentless taskmaster picks away at your humanness. But through journaling, I discovered my voice, the truth that had been locked away, buried deep in the darkness. I found it under layers of guilt, shame and terror. I allowed all my feelings to surface. Yes, I was allowed to have them all privately in my journal without judgment, and I stopped editing and judging myself so harshly. I was free to be me. Coming back home to myself. Journaling soothed my mind, and over time I slowly began to connect to my body. I wanted to move, so I took up dancing. I felt grounded and confident as I moved to the music. I didn't resist or fight it. I noticed that I didn't disappear into my head so much. So when we go up into our heads and we go up into anxiety or we go up into overthinking, we've lost the connection with our bodies. And so I was present for the first time. I felt at peace, I smiled, and the music brought me so much joy. There was a time when I couldn't listen to music because it was too upsetting. You may find that too. Like, as a highly sensitive, I think we can kind of hear what the music's trying to say to us. And also if the singer, like I've said this before, like someone like Michael Jackson or someone like Adele, who conveys that emotion, not just through the lyrics, but through their voice, it can have a really profound effect on you. But it can also, as much as it can trigger you and be upsetting, it can also be incredibly healing. It's a universal language, isn't it, music? So how to start a daily journaling practice. Remember what's in my healing toolkit, and then I say you'll find that in this episode of the Wildheart Diaries. I'll pop a link to this blog post. Pop my teeth back in. This blog post below, and then you can see what all the links are. Remember, what's in my healing toolkit might not be in yours, as I've already said, but I highly recommend you give journaling a try, and here are some pointers to get you started. So, number 1, claim this as your private space to be. Don't edit yourself. Don't write as if someone else is going to read it. Just write the truth, the raw, unfiltered you. If you must, write digitally on an iPad and then delete it. Or write it on paper and burn it. But just get it out of you. Purge. It's like a big purge. You're emotionally constipated. You need to do a big dump. Then there's a little note here that says, when you sign up to my newsletter, I gift you this downloadable pretty podcast notepad so you can journal while you listen to the Wildheart Diaries. I would suggest that as a good place to start, because the Wildheart Diaries is me just talking to you like this about my experience of healing. And as I go along, I offer you journal prompts, and this pretty podcast notepad is a space for you to reflect and write those things down. But it says create a comfy space, or a physical space where you feel safe. Blankets, candles, relaxing music, a cup of tea, whatever you need. And then find your time of day where you can think and write uninterrupted. If you're a night owl, you might prefer to journal before you go to sleep. I prefer to journal in the morning because my brain fires up as soon as I open my eyes, and it gives me a clear head to focus on the day ahead. Write unedited for at least 10 minutes a day. Don't judge it, get curious, just let the words fall out on the page. Even if they don't make any sense, just get them out. If you really are pushed for time, I'd open a notes page up on your phone when you're queuing, or instead of scrolling the gram, type out your thoughts in your phone. And at the very least, this will bring your attention to the crap that you're telling yourself, because most of the stuff that your inner critic says, or all of it, is lies and is unkind and is helpful and will just keep you stuck. But if you struggle with what to write, just write what your brain is thinking. Give yourself permission to be messy with it. Let your words amble around the page. And over time, you'll get more clarity and deeper insight and grow more trust. And then there's another link to how I share my daily journal practice and some of the ways I stay inspired. But another thing I'd like to offer you today is I have got a free journaling class. I used to run a class called Journaling Your Jammies, and it's one of those it's the very first class that I did, actually, and it's on confidence, and it's great. And so I'm going to offer it to you for free. I shall put a link in the comments and the description box below, and invite you to have a go at it, and then let me know how you get on. All right? All you have to do is pop your name and your email address in, and I'll send you the class. Easy. And yes, journal. I think this stuff should be taught in schools. I think journaling is more important than trigonometry, rice farming in the paddy fields, fractions. I just think of all the things I hated at school. Physics, chemistry, biology. I just think, I mean, I probably the things that I think at school that would matter if you weren't very confident would be things like drama, because it gives you a voice. And journaling unearths that inner voice, that inner truth that lives inside of you. And you start to hear it once you clear away the voice of that inner critic. And by sitting with that voice every day and just letting it ramble on, and then you get bored of it after a while and you think, oh, you told me that yesterday. Oh, and the day before you told me that. Then you start to hear the voice of your higher self, your wise owl, your intuition. And that is the voice that will guide you towards all the things that feel good, that bring you joy, that you're meant to experience in this lifetime. So I hope that's helpful. Thanks for being here today. If you like this video, can I ask that you give it a like? And I'd also like to see what your experience of journaling is. If you've been a journaler for a long time, if you've never done journaling before but you'd like to give it a go, let me know in the comments below, or just drop me a little emoji or say hi. I quite like to hear from you. And YouTube likes it as well, because it really helps with the algorithm and it helps other wild hearts to find us. And you know, I can't change the school system, so I can't get this out in schools. But if you can help me get this message out into the world, then you know that's going to make a difference. All right, I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye for now.